Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible systems in the human body, the female reproductive system. It is just a masterpiece of biological engineering, and we're going to see exactly how it all fits together, starting from the outside and working our way in.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to break this tour down into 4 main parts. We'll kick things off with what you can see on the outside, and then we're heading deep inside to look at the major players, the uterus and ovaries. After that, we'll check out the really intricate network of tubes and supports holding everything together. And finally, we'll zoom out to see how it all connects with the structures around it. Let's get started. Okay, first up, the external anatomy. And you might be surprised to learn that all these different parts that we're about to see, they actually share one single collective name. And that term is the vulva. It's the proper anatomical word that covers all of the external parts, from the labia all the way to the clitoris.
So, what actually makes up the vulva? Well, you can kind of think of it in layers. Way up at the front, there's the mons pubis. Then you've got 2 sets of protective folds, the outer labia majora and the inner labia minora. Tucked right within those are the supersensitive clitoris, a central area called the vestibule, and the really important vestibular glands, which handle lubrication.
Now, it's super common to get these 2 sets of labia or lips mixed up, but they have really distinct jobs. The labia majora are the larger outer folds. Their main job is to protect all the delicate structures inside. Then you have the labia minora, which are the smaller, hairless inner folds that surround the openings to the vagina and urethra.
And another absolutely crucial part of the external anatomy is the clitoris. It's actually made of erectile tissue, a lot like a penis, which means it can fill with blood. But what makes it so unique is its incredible density of nerve endings, which makes it the primary center for sexual pleasure.
All right, let's head inside. We're now going deeper to explore what I like to call the system's core engines, the internal powerhouses. You know, the uterus itself isn't just one big chamber. It actually has 4 distinct zones. If you picture it sort of like a pear held upside down, the rounded top part is the fundus. The main part is called the body, and that tapers down into a narrow little section called the isthmus. And finally, right at the bottom, we have the cervix, which is basically the neck of the uterus that opens into the vagina.
Now, check this out. The wall of the uterus is an absolute marvel of engineering. It's got 3 distinct layers, and each one is built for a very specific purpose. On the very outside, you have a thin, protective skin called the perimetrium. The middle layer, the myometrium, is just this powerhouse of smooth muscle. This is what generates the incredible force needed for childbirth. And then on the inside is the endometrium, this dynamic, blood-rich lining that gets ready every single month to nourish a potential pregnancy.
Okay, so flanking the uterus on either side, we find the ovaries. You can think of these as the biological factories of the whole system. Their critical job is to produce and mature the female reproductive cells, the oocytes, which we more commonly just call eggs.
Now, of course, these organs don't just float around in the pelvis. I mean, can you imagine? They're held in place by this really sophisticated support system of ligaments and pathways. So let's take a look at these crucial tubes and tethers.
This whole system is basically held in place from all angles. You've got the ovarian ligament, which connects the ovary directly to the uterus. Then, there are ligaments anchoring the uterus from the front, that's the round ligament, and from the back, the uterosacral ligament. And finally, the broad ligament acts like this big stabilizing sheet on either side. It is a complete 360-degree support system.
So we have the ovaries making the eggs, and we have the uterus where they need to go. How do they get from point A to point B? Well, that's where the fallopian tubes come in. They are the critical pathway, the tunnel that the egg travels through on its journey.
So how does the egg even get into the tube in the first place? It's amazing, actually. At the very end of the fallopian tube, you have these delicate, finger-like projections called fimbria. They literally sweep over the surface of the ovary and catch the egg right when it's released. From there, it's guided into the tube, and it eventually reaches this wider section called the ampulla. And that is the exact spot where fertilization most often happens.
All right, for our final stop, let's zoom out, because to really get the full picture, you have to see how this whole system fits in with the rest of its anatomical neighborhood.
So the vagina is the muscular tube that connects the cervix to the outside world. But what's really incredible is its lining. It's made from a special type of tissue called stratified squamous epithelium. I know that sounds super complicated, but all it really means is that it's built with many, many tough, flat layers of cells, which makes it incredibly durable and resistant to friction.
Now, a really important neighbor here is the urethra. And this is where we see a huge difference between the sexes. In females, the urethra is actually quite short, and it has just one job: passing urine. This is totally different from the male urethra, which is much, much longer and has to pull double duty for both the urinary and the reproductive systems. And just behind all of these reproductive organs is the anal canal, which has this fascinating two-part control system. Think of it like having an automatic mode and a manual mode. There are two sphincters, an internal one made of smooth muscle that just works automatically, you don't even think about it. And then there's an external one made of skeletal muscle, and that's the one you have conscious, voluntary control over. So, we've completed our tour of the anatomy, piece by piece. We've seen all the physical structures, all the parts, but that leaves us with this one huge, fascinating question. How do all of these static parts work together in this beautifully coordinated, dynamic rhythm, like the menstrual cycle? Well, that's a story for another explainer.